Hey, you've summoned a lesser maker. I have a problem. I have a lot of these straight roads where a missile weapon can hit another character from a pretty far distance. It's just not quite ideal. I've tried to solve this with making some crates. It comes with a trade-off because it offers cover, but it makes the roads harder to navigate. And my son is just turning 8, and he doesn't like having characters with missile weapons. He just wants to have swords and big axes. By the time he gets to my character, he's really down a couple of wounds. So I was Googling Mordheim terrain, kind of like when you open the fridge and hope your favorite food spawns in. I was hoping that Google would have the solution to my problem. I found my way onto Amazon and I found these ruined town modular walls. And these were the solution to my problem. It offers cover underneath, you can weave through in and out, and it adds a lot of possibilities to gameplay. And if you really want to get risky, you can travel along top. Player can choose a high risk and high reward scenario. This was perfect. As a bit of a bonus, I've always kind of wanted to do a floor is lava type Mordheim game where you can't touch the ground, and this is the perfect solution to a lot of the issues that I was having, but this is kind of expensive.
So if this is outside of your budget, I'm going to show you how to scratch build it. There will be a free template for you to follow along with on my Patreon. I started off by cutting out a popsicle stick wood arch so that I can trace it around with my hot wire cutter, because we're going to be using styrofoam. This is a material I haven't really used. I've been accumulating it for about a year now. Whenever we buy some furniture, there's bound to be some pieces of styrofoam, high density or low density, in the box. So I've just been setting it aside, and I thought I might as well try out a hot wire cutter. I've never used this type of tool before, so I'm going to make a mistake here, and I'm also going to find that solution in this video so that you don't make that same mistake. The nice thing about that wood template is it's really fast to just kind of trace around it, and each and every one of those arches is going to be exactly the same. This is how they used to do it when they were building physical arches back in this era. They would make a wood template for every arch and then just carry it over to the next one, and that's how everything would be consistent. So I just kind of emulated that here. For the base, I'm using foam core board, and I use the bottom step to be the width of the arch, and then 2 centimeters smaller than that for the inside step. And then I just stack that right in the middle. So this was the mistake that I made. I used just straight wood glue to coat this styrofoam, and the spray paint really ate into this arch. So I edit this later, and I do the other arch in a different way, and it worked perfectly. For the top section, I'm using popsicle sticks, and I'm really just tearing these things apart to make it look as rough as possible and haphazard. I'm almost thinking that these archways were once aqueducts bringing water to the city, but now have been modified to be walkways once the city kind of dried up. For this next arch, I applied a full spackle to this, and this did 2 things. It completely sealed the styrofoam inside, and I was able to have a little bit more grout stick through each brick because I was able to smush it right in. I applied this in a really thick layer so that there would be plenty of the stucco kind of revealing itself in between the cobblestones. So I ended up having to make some more cobblestones, so I'm just cutting out some rough squares. I'm not being precise at all here, and I'm just throwing them into a plastic container and tossing them with a bunch of rocks. At the end of this archway, I'm put in the wood template to make it look like maybe this part was being constructed and not finished. Just as a bit of a fun detail that I liked. So I primed everything a matte black, and we're just going to be using a brand called Acryology, and this is just from the Dollar Tree. This is my staple paint. I buy a bunch of different colors from this brand, and everything terrain-wise, basically, I paint is with one of these colors. Is to stipple or sponge on your colors. The layer lines, especially if they're pretty visible, will always show when you're brushing along the layers. So if you stipple it, you can get around that texture. And it also kind of brings out a better texture, especially with the sponge. I did everything with the sponge here, and I was able to put in the highlights and leave things in the recesses, and by the end of it, it was looking really, really nice. After I was done sponging, I went in with some extra brush work, and I just stippled on with the brush. I didn't do any up and down strokes. I just went up and down with the brush to make sure that layer lines weren't being accentuated with the brush strokes. Another thing that helps with this is having a really wet paint. It kind of fills in rather than kind of dry brushing, and that's really what you need here. I just went on some of the rocks. I tried to make a gradient from really highlights to a dark on the bottom, and it turned out looking really good. Okay, so now the moment of truth. Let's put it on the board and see how it looks. And does this actually end up solving our problem? This does a really good job of adding a lot of cover and also kind of dividing one of the biggest open gaps of my board. I didn't really know what to expect when buying this on Amazon, but honestly, even the 3D printed terrain looks amazing, and it definitely was worth the $40. On its own, it's a full board of terrain, depending on the size of game you're playing. But if you're looking for something similar to this, I'll leave it in the description. The scratch building, and if you're curious, you don't want to buy two of these. It does match pretty good with some scratch built stuff as long as you paint it relatively similar. I especially like these extra ladders and walkways. These are always kind of finicky to build yourself, and having these stone stairs as well are really great. I'm really looking forward to doing that floor is lava encounter and seeing how well that works with these in place. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind leaving a comment, liking the video, and subscribing if you haven't, that goes such a long way to help my small channel reach out. This past year, I've been building the city of Mordheim, and it's been crazy fun. I've come out with 2 STL packs. Both of them are free if you want to download them. One is a Victorian greenhouse, which is better than I could have ever imagined. And the building accessories STL pack. And that's full of lanterns, windows. Yeah, so those are free on my Patreon. I'm mentioning that because I'm coming out with a new STL pack called the Mordheim Catacombs. I've been having a lot of fun building the city of Mordheim, but now I want to build the undercity of Mordheim. And Patreon members get early access to this new STL pack as I'm developing it. And even some of them are helping me troubleshoot some of the STLs. Sorry, Hanover. So thank you for that. And I'm just going to thank my patrons real quick. Leroy, Moonbad, Feder, Caracal, Old School FRP, Burning Heart Custom Creations, James, Anders, Hanover, Treborius, Andy, and Eric. Thank you guys so much. I've been blown away with the amount of support that's been going over there lately. And no joke, the Patreon gets like 50 views a day on average. I'm going to stop talking because I'm tired of hearing myself talk. I can't imagine you. So have a good one.